Push her over the railing tonight. It'll look like an accident. Emma's world shattered hearing her millionaire husband's words. 8 months pregnant, miles from shore, she realized their anniversary cruise wasn't a gift, it was a death trap. With nowhere to run, Emma had to outsmart them both to survive. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. I think it's time we get rid of her. The harsh words froze Emma's blood as she stood hidden behind the door. She had only wanted to find her husband on the big boat, but now she couldn't move. Tonight. It was Sophia's voice, her husband's assistant. Are you sure, Alex? Yes. It has to look like an accident, Alexander replied coldly. She's 8 months pregnant. No one will question if a clumsy pregnant woman fell overboard. Emma's hands moved to her large belly, protecting the baby girl growing inside her. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her own husband, CEO of Martin Global Enterprises, was planning to kill her right here on this boat in the middle of the sea. What about the baby? Sophia asked. Who cares? Once Emma is gone, I get her 30% of the company. That's all that matters. Emma backed away silently, her heart pounding. The luxury boat that was supposed to be a special 5th anniversary trip had turned into a death trap. The shore of Santorini was just tiny lights in the distance. She was miles from help, trapped on a boat with 2 people who wanted her dead. As she reached the bottom of the stairs, Emma froze. Through the partially open door to the master suite, she could see Alexander with his assistant, Sophia Chen. They weren't discussing business. How much longer do we have to keep up this charade? Sophia asked, running her fingers through Alexander's hair as he kissed her neck. Not much longer, Alexander replied. Once we get back from this trip, I'll tell her I want a divorce. And the baby? Alexander shrugged. DNA test first. I have my doubts it's even mine. She was so desperate to get pregnant. Emma's hand flew to her mouth to stifle a gasp. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The prenup is solid. She cheats, she gets nothing, Alexander continued. And if the baby is mine, well, we can work out custody. The important thing is getting control of the company shares her father insisted on giving her as a wedding present. 30% is a lot to lose, Sophia agreed, straightening Alexander's collar. Especially with the board already questioning your leadership after the failed merger. Don't worry about the board. Once Emma's out of the picture, her shares revert to me according to the terms her father set up. Then we can move forward with our plans. Emma backed away silently, her mind racing. The betrayal cut deep, but the calculated coldness of their plan terrified her. This wasn't just about an affair. They wanted to strip her of everything, including potentially her child. Back on the upper deck, Emma tried to steady her breathing. She needed to think, to plan. The boat was miles from shore and they weren't due back until morning. Her phone was in the suite, with them. Emma? What are you doing up here alone? Sophia's voice made her jump. The assistant, no, the mistress, approached with a concerned smile that now seemed like a predator's grin. Just enjoying the night air, Emma managed to say, her voice surprisingly steady. Alexander is looking for you. He wants to show you something on the bow. Sophia gestured toward the front of the boat. I'll go find him. Emma started to move past her, but Sophia placed a hand on her arm. Let me help you. Those stairs can be tricky, especially in your condition. Emma had no choice but to allow Sophia to guide her. As they approached the bow, she saw Alexander standing there looking out at the water. Darling, look at this view, he called, turning to her with that same empty smile. Emma walked toward him cautiously. It's beautiful. Come closer to the edge. You can see the lights of the fishing boats. Alexander beckoned her forward. A chill that had nothing to do with the night air ran down Emma's spine. The railing here was lower than at the stern, and the boat was moving at a good clip. If someone were to fall. I'm fine here, thank you. Emma stood her ground, glancing between Alexander and Sophia, who had positioned herself between Emma and the return to the main deck. Don't be silly. It's perfectly safe. Alexander reached for her hand. Emma took a deliberate step back. I know about you and Sophia. The change was immediate. Alexander's face hardened, his pretense of affection dropping away like a discarded mask. How unfortunate, he said coldly. That complicates things. I heard everything. The divorce plans. The company shares. Your doubts about our baby. Emma's voice trembled slightly, but she kept her chin up. Alexander exchanged a look with Sophia. Well, then I suppose there's no point in waiting until we get back to shore. What are you going to do? Push me overboard? Emma asked, fighting to keep the fear from her voice. 2 against 1 with me 8 months pregnant. Very brave. Accidents happen at sea all the time, Sophia said smoothly. Especially when someone's had too much to drink and loses their balance. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in months, as you well know. Emma's mind was racing. The captain and the small crew of 3 would be at the other end of the boat. If she screamed, would they hear her over the engines? Details that can be arranged afterward, Alexander said, stepping toward her. No one will question my grief when I report that my pregnant wife tragically fell overboard while I was sleeping. Emma backed up until she felt the low railing against her lower back. You won't get away with this. I think we will. Alexander moved closer. The water temperature tonight is about 68 degrees. Hypothermia sets in quickly, even in warm water. By the time I wake up and discover you're missing, it will be too late. Emma's hand slipped into the pocket of her dress, finding the small digital voice recorder she'd started carrying when she first suspected Alexander was hiding something. Thank goodness she'd turned it on when she heard them talking below deck. One last thing before you do this, Emma said, trying to buy time. Did you ever love me? Or was it all about my father's connections and his shares in your company? Alexander hesitated, perhaps considering how to answer. That moment of distraction was all Emma needed. She suddenly clutched her belly and doubled over with a cry of pain. My baby. Something's wrong, she gasped. Instinctively, both Alexander and Sophia paused. In that moment, Emma straightened and lunged to the side, away from the railing. She stumbled past Sophia, purposely colliding with her, sending the other woman off balance. Help! Emma screamed as loudly as she could, running toward the main deck. Someone help me. She heard rapid footsteps behind her and knew Alexander was in pursuit. The boat wasn't large enough for her to hide for long, and in her condition she couldn't outrun him. The door to the bridge appeared ahead. Emma threw herself through it, startling the captain and first mate. Mrs. Martin. What's wrong? The captain jumped to his feet. My husband, Emma began, but Alexander burst in behind her. Emma's having contractions, he said smoothly, his concerned husband masked back in place. We need to head back to shore immediately. The captain nodded and began issuing orders. Emma stood frozen, Alexander's hand gripping her arm painfully. Make a scene and you'll regret it, he whispered. We're still miles from shore. The first mate hurried out to adjust their course, leaving Emma alone with Alexander and the captain, who was focused on the controls. I need to lie down, Emma said loudly. And I need my medication from my bag. I'll help you, Alexander insisted, steering her toward the door. As they left the bridge, Emma saw Sophia waiting in the corridor, her expression tense. What happened? She hissed. Change of plans, Alexander muttered. We need to get back to shore first. Then we'll deal with this. They escorted Emma back to the guest cabin, not the master suite they had been sharing. Once inside, Alexander closed the door firmly. That was quite a performance, he said coldly. But it only delays the inevitable. If anything happens to me, the authorities will know exactly who's responsible. Emma pulled the voice recorder from her pocket. I have your entire conversation recorded. Your plans for me, for the company, your doubts about the baby, everything. Alexander's face paled. Give me that. I don't think so. Emma clutched the device tightly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell the captain I was having false labor. We'll return to shore and you'll take me to our villa. Tomorrow you'll arrange for a car to take me to the airport and I'll fly home. And then what? Alexander asked, his voice dangerous. Then I go to the board with this recording. I may only own 30% of the company, but your father made sure I have allies there. People who never quite trusted you to follow in his footsteps. Sophia stepped forward. You're bluffing. The board would never. My father was the company's largest investor before he died, Emma interrupted. His partners are still major shareholders. How do you think they'll react when they hear you planning to manipulate company stock and lie about the paternity of your child to gain control? Not to mention the attempted murder. Alexander's jaw clenched. No one would believe you. Are you willing to take that chance? Emma asked. Because I've already sent a copy of this recording to my lawyer with instructions to release it if anything happens to me. This was a lie, but Emma kept her expression confident as she watched doubt flicker across Alexander's face. You're trapped on this boat until we reach shore, he reminded her. Yes, but the captain and crew are witnesses that I'm alive and well. If I don't stay that way, there will be questions. Awkward ones that even you can't charm your way out of. For the first time, Emma saw uncertainty in Alexander's eyes. He exchanged a glance with Sophia, who looked equally unsettled. We could still claim the recording is fake, Sophia suggested. You could, Emma agreed. But combined with testimony from the private investigator I hired 3 months ago, who has photos of your meetings and hotel stays, it creates a compelling narrative. Another lie, but Emma was discovering a talent for bluffing. You're making this up, Alexander said, but his voice lacked conviction. Call my bluff then. Emma straightened her shoulders. See what happens when we reach shore. The standoff lasted several tense minutes before Alexander finally spoke. Fine. We return to shore. You go your way, we go ours. But this isn't over. Oh, I think it is, Emma replied. Because you haven't asked the most important question yet. Which is? Sophia asked. Why I came on this trip at all when I've known about your affair for months. Alexander frowned. What are you talking about? Did you really think I wouldn't notice the changes in your behavior? The late nights? The mysterious business trips that didn't match the company calendar? Emma shook her head. I may have been naive when we married, but I'm not stupid. Then why come on this trip? Alexander demanded. To get what I needed. Emma smiled coldly. While you two were busy plotting on the lower deck earlier today, I was in your office accessing the company servers through your laptop. Alexander's face drained of color. You're lying. You don't have the passwords. You use the same password for everything, Alexander. Your mother's birthday. Not very secure for a CEO. Emma watched realization dawn on his face. I've forwarded all the files about the offshore accounts you've been diverting company funds into. The fake vendors you created to funnel money through. The bribes to government officials in Asia to push through that resort development. That's impossible, Sophia whispered, but her expression betrayed her. Your father built that company on integrity, Alexander, Emma continued. What would he say if he knew what you've done? Alexander lunged forward suddenly, grabbing Emma's arms. You little? A sharp knock at the door interrupted him. Mr. Martin? We're approaching the marina. We'll dock in about 20 minutes, the first mate called through the door. Thank you. Emma called back before Alexander could respond. We'll be ready. Alexander released her, stepping back with fury in his eyes. This isn't over. Actually it is, Emma said calmly. When we dock, I'll be met by my father's old friend George Papadopoulos. You remember, the retired police chief? He's been waiting for my call. If I don't contact him within the hour, he comes looking for me with a team of officers. Alexander's expression confirmed that her gamble had paid off. George was indeed waiting. Emma had arranged it before boarding as a precaution, though she hadn't anticipated just how necessary it would be. Here's what happens next, Emma continued. I'll take control of my shares and vote with the board to remove you as CEO. The evidence of your financial crimes goes to the authorities unless you agree to my terms. Which are? Alexander asked through gritted teeth. A divorce with terms that favor me, including full custody of our child. A public statement acknowledging that the baby is yours, which, despite your cruel insinuations, she absolutely is. And your resignation from the company, effective immediately. You can't do this, Sophia protested. You'll destroy everything. No, Emma corrected her. You two did that yourselves. As the boat docked at the marina, Emma felt the baby kick strongly as if in agreement. She placed a protective hand over her belly. You have until morning to decide, she told Alexander. George will escort me to the villa where I'll await your answer. Choose wisely. 3 months later, Emma sat in her father's old office at Martin Global Enterprises, her newborn daughter sleeping peacefully in a bassinet beside her desk. The board meeting had gone well, with the new direction for the company receiving unanimous approval. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Former CEO Alexander Martin pleads guilty to financial crimes, faces 10 years. Accompanying the headline was a photo of Alexander being led away in handcuffs, Sophia nowhere to be seen. Emma closed the alert and turned back to the business proposal on her screen. The company was thriving under her leadership, its reputation rebuilding after the scandal. The offshore accounts had been closed, the diverted funds recovered, and new ethical guidelines implemented. A soft knock at the door announced her assistant. Ms. Martin, your 3 o'clock is here. Thank you, Lisa. Send them in. Emma stood, smoothing her dress. As the door opened, Emma glanced at her sleeping daughter and smiled. The ultrasound had been right. She did have her mother's eyes and her grandfather's determined chin. What it hadn't shown was the strength she'd inherited from a mother who had fought back from the edge, literally, to create a safe future for them both. The client entered, and Emma extended her hand, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. Welcome to Martin Global Enterprises, she said confidently. Where integrity is our foundation, and the future is looking very bright indeed.